Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. Smackdown last week surprised us all by giving us a great episode, and they followed it up this week by giving us one of the worst episodes of Smackdown I have ever seen in the entire history of Smackdown. Not just since they've been on Fox Sports, not just since they changed the name from Smackdown Live, not just in the last couple of months with the pandemic, but ever. Ever. It is the same exact garbage week after week, and the one thing they tried to do that was a little bit different was the worst kind of different. The kind of different that makes me want to take this hammer and bring it down on SmackDown harder than ever before. And we're going to do just that right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's SmackDown review and reaction show. And it's going to be a hot one. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Alright, gang, thank you once again for joining me here on the channel today, and I'm pissed. Obviously, I'm pissed off. Because last week, much to our surprise, we enjoyed SmackDown. For the most part, it had a couple of misses, but for the most of the evening, it was full of great wrestling. We had a lot of really interesting things going on, and it was okay. And then we come to this week, and it's almost like they forgot everything that they did last week that was great and went back to the shit script that they were using a couple of weeks back. And they're just doing the same exact matches over and over again, and they don't even have the decency to build any new stars by allowing people to actually frickin' win. Oh, sure, there were wins. Jeff Hardy got a win with a roll-up, a surprise roll-up, because we need to protect the Miz, right? And the rest of the evening, we had disqualifications, 2 disqualifications. We had another match end in a roll-up fashion because they're just afraid to put anybody over. Everything that they did tonight was just garbage. Garbage. And it started off right away. You were going into a Miz TV. You know we're in bad shape already. Because what's the job of the Miz and John Morrison? Their active job right now is to fill in the spots wherever the WWE don't know what the hell else to do. You got Jeff Hardy in a feud with Sheamus, where the only thing that Sheamus wants is not to beat up Jeff Hardy. He doesn't want to hurt Jeff Hardy. He wants Jeff Hardy to fall off the wagon. He wants Jeff Hardy to take a drink. And they want to just repeat this segment week after week. And Sheamus wasn't there this week, but he showed up via satellite, all to tell Jeff Hardy, hey, look, my drink tastes pretty good. And during the Miz TV segment, the Miz makes a suggestion, oh, you guys should have a bar fight. A bar fight. A bar fight. You are going to put an alcoholic in an actual bar? And I don't care. Like I said with the segment, when he beat up the bartender in the middle of the ring with all the bottles of liquor in the middle of the ring previously a couple of weeks back. I don't care if it's a fake bar. I don't care if it's fake alcohol in the bottles. I don't care if they're going to have ginger ale be used for beer or whatever the props may be. Just the appearance of having a known, troubled alcoholic, a man with real life issues that were not, these aren't things that happened like 10 years ago to Jeff Hardy. These are pretty recent struggles for this guy. And highlighting him in this storyline where the only thing about it is the alcohol and not the athleticism, not the fact that he's a former world champion, not the fact that he's a former intercontinental champion, not the fact that Sheamus just wants to pick on him because he's a superstar coming back from the old days that shouldn't be around now and making way for the new superstars. There were 3 different angles I just gave you that could have made this storyline just fine. And you base it off the wrestling. You don't need the extra bullshit when it is so controversial and something very sensitive, like dealing with a man's demons and a man's alcoholism. This is a serious situation, and it's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. The backlash on social media has been real, and I've been a part of it. I do not agree with the way they are showcasing this storyline. And I'm the first one here, I tell you all the time, I don't mind them bringing in a little bit of real life to the situation to make things kind of blurred and to make things more interesting and more impactful. But what is this doing? This is bringing negative connotations to Jeff Hardy. This whole entire feud was started because Sheamus framed Jeff Hardy for almost murdering a guy. And now it's only become, take a drink, Jeff. Just take a drink. You know you want to take a drink. Why are you doing that? I don't care how strong he is inside. I don't care that he's signed off on this angle. This is in such bad taste. And it's lazy. It's lazy, it's uninspired, and it's only existing because they don't know how to book pro wrestling. So The Miz does his job. He goes in there. He has a meh match with Jeff Hardy. It didn't do anything for me. It was just a match that exists in the world now. And Jeff Hardy wins with a roll-up. He didn't win with a whisper in the wind. He didn't get a definitive pin by hitting him with a twist of fate and then getting a pinfall or something like that. The Miz botched his roll-up, and then Jeff Hardy followed up with a roll-up of his own. That's how we opened SmackDown tonight. It was absolutely awful. It was distasteful, and I am so sick and tired of Vince and Bruce just using what they have, this immature bullshit frame of mind that they have, and just sticking to this one thing. Like the short jokes for Shorty G. Chad Gable. And the fat jokes for people that are overweight. And the way they book the women's division. Speaking of the women's division, they followed this crap up with a tag team match for the Golden Role Models. Can't say that either, it's just so cringy. Or the Boston Connection taking on Blitzcross Applesauce. Again. Now this match between these girls was just fine. And that's because they've been wrestling each other week after week after week. It's like they've been getting a lot of practice. Eventually they're going to put on a great matchup. And Sasha and Bayley always put on a great match, regardless what they do. Alexa and Nikki are spotty at best. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're okay, but never do they give us anything really great. And this tag team matchup was really nothing that great, and it was made infinitely worse by the fact that the Boston Hug Connection won. Now, that's not the problem. The problem is that they pinned Nikki Cross. You had Bayley pin Nikki Cross in this match, taking away all her steam, taking away all her momentum, and proving that they don't know how to book pro wrestling anymore. Don't you want to protect your number one contender to make them look like they maybe even have a shot? If you have them booked in a tag team matchup, more often than not, it's the partner of the number one contender that is there to take the pin so that the loss doesn't suffer any negative effects on your number one contender. But that's not what they did here. They gave the loss not only to her team, but to Nikki Cross herself. Days away from her championship match with Bayley at Extreme Horror Show Bullshit Rules. That's nonsensical. Just as nonsensical as everything else they did regarding the women on this night. But that tag team matchup, like I said, it was a non-title matchup, so you know there was no implications. There was no reason for us to see it. We've seen it a bunch of times already. We've seen them fight each other singles. We've seen this tag team matchup a bunch of times over the course of the last couple of months. So what was the point of it? What was the point? It didn't give Bayley any advantage going into the championship matchup. It didn't have any stipulation hanging over it for the upcoming championship matchup. There was no reason to have this match. None at all. All they did was a disservice to Nikki Cross. And it was awful. It was absolutely awful. Just as awful as having to sit through the Money in the Bank match between, not the Money in the Bank match, the match from Money in the Bank, the Universal Champion, Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. Having to sit through this again was going to give me a nervous breakdown, so I didn't watch it again. I didn't care. But what did surprise me was every time I came back and assumed that it was going to be over and edited for television, I was wrong, because they showed this match in its entirety. I guess because they don't know how to book a wrestling show and couldn't come up with content. So we had to go back to this to try to push the match between Braun and Bray at the horror show. You're building up the swamp fight by showing us a match that sucked to hell. No thanks. It was awful. If you don't remember that match, you can go back and watch me bring the hammer down on that ridiculous shit. I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. Because up until this point of SmackDown, it was bad. It was bad. But then it gets really bad. Really bad. Because all night long, they were talking about some karaoke contest. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm going, there's no way we're going to actually get a karaoke contest. I thought right off the bat the girls are going to get in the ring. Some sort of shenanigans was going to happen. They would end up brawling, and then we'd get an impromptu Teddy Long style tag team match between the 4 women that were involved. Unfortunately for me and for the rest of you, I was wrong. And what we were shown was 3 of the worst characters on SmackDown. Dana Botch, Bam Bam, Lacey Evans, and Tamina. And then there was Naomi, who's a beautiful, talented woman who should be being pushed as a wrestler, not be sitting there singing karaoke. Karaoke. These 4 women went out there. They did karaoke. They sang a classic wrestling theme song. And none of these girls, even Naomi included, now Naomi had the lyrics down, but she did not sing the song correctly. None of the other women sang the song correctly. Tamina didn't even sing a note. Not that I'm complaining, that was probably better, but she had 2 lines. She did Triple H's song for some reason, and all she had to say was, "Time to play the game." It's very simple. You've heard it a million times, have you not? Everybody knows Triple H's theme song. How do you get that wrong? She wasn't on time, she didn't say the line right, and then she just, was headbanging, and then Jey Uso, who had nothing better to do with his life than host this piece of crap instead of being in a tag team match of some sort, stopped her and went on. Lacey Evans sang "With My Baby Tonight." Jeff Jarrett, "I can't wait to be alone with my baby tonight." Now, I actually enjoyed this song when it came out in 1993, and I hated the fact that she used this song. It does kind of make sense because Jeff Jarrett's song is like a very cringy, very heely kind of a song, but isn't Lacey Evans supposed to be a babyface right now? Anyway, she sang terribly, and what took the cake definitely was Dana Brooke singing the Honky Tonk Man song, and I just wanted to kill myself. I wanted to kill myself that I had to sit here and watch this, and this is what the head of the company, the one man in charge of the greatest wrestling company that has ever existed on this planet, this is what passes for him as entertainment. Embarrassing 4 women for no reason in a segment that came to a head by all of them fighting anyway, but then only had Lacey Evans and Naomi in an impromptu matchup. So you set up this whole karaoke nonsense, made them look like idiots, hearkening back to the days of the Divas division. I was waiting for them to start stripping down to their bikinis and bringing out pillows to do a pillow fight. This was disrespectful. Now, you guys that follow this show, you know I'm no fan of Dana Brooke. I'm no fan of Lacey Evans, nor am I a fan of Tamina. But this was disrespectful. This was not good for them. How do they think that this passes as entertainment? What did this accomplish for any of them? Nothing. nothing. Instead of giving us a couple of singles matches or adding some more time to a couple of the matches they already had, you wasted our time. You embarrassed these girls, and even though they went out there, they owned it, they were embarrassing themselves, and they knew it, so they went all in on it. If I'm going to be embarrassed, might as well act like a jackass. And they all did just fine in that respect. Just 4 girls out there made to look stupid to set up a match that meant nothing. And all it did was confuse me. Because Lacey Evans was on this path of, I'm a good girl now. Bam, bam, I'm such a good girl. And now, with no explanation, no rhyme or reason, they did that. And with the same non-explanation and no rhyme or reason, she's apparently going back to being the Southern Lacey Evans. Bam, bam, I am a heel now. Boom, boom, boom. And somebody explain to me what's going on. Why is she attacking Naomi? Because Naomi won a karaoke sing-off that doesn't mean jack. Didn't mean nothing. But it upset Lacey Evans because she thinks her terrible rendition of Jeff Jarrett's song was better than Naomi singing Dusty Rhodes' song. And why Dusty Rhodes' song? Just to stick it to Cody? I don't know. I know everybody loves Dusty and he's ingrained in the WWE and all that, but weird song choice. Or is that just Vince McMahon being racist again? Well, we don't have a lot of songs that were sung by an African-American woman, Miss Naomi. Maybe you should do Dusty's song. Ha 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 ha! What other reason could you think of? That may be a little controversial, may hit a note that some of you might not like, but that might be the God's honest truth, considering the source. Awful. One of the worst segments, if not the worst segment of all time. This segment reminded me of when we had to see Bobby Lashley and his sisters. Remember that a couple of years back? That was probably the worst segment ever. Until now. That's how bad this was. Then they ended the show with a decent tag team matchup. SmackDown Tag Team Championships on the line. The New Day. The 9,050 million time champion who's been champion now for probably 3,059 days. Versus Cesaro and Shinsuke for the 100th time in the last couple of months. This push is coming for these guys because Jackson Riker's got a big mouth and ruined the career of 3 men by saying something stupid on Twitter that got him in a lot of trouble. So now, fortunately for us, Cesaro and Shinsuke are placed back into the scenario of the Tag Team Championship chase. And I'm just bored of it. I'm bored of it. And all of a sudden, Cesaro's got this fire under his ass, which is great. I love Cesaro. I love his uppercuts. They're a thing of beauty. We've seen a couple of fantastic uppercuts tonight in this tag team matchup. But for the most part, it's the same song and dance over and over again. The WWE don't know what to do with a guy like Cesaro, so they stick him with another guy that they don't know what to do with, and they put him in a tag team run. He was successful with Sheamus. I don't know why they didn't just go back to that. I'd rather see that than Sheamus be a jerk-off in this other angle with Jeff Hardy. Rather see the Bar reunite and bring some solidarity back to the tag team division. But that's not what's happening, obviously. And this match was just fine. I guess the action was pretty decent. I just hated the fact that there was no winner here. Like, you hyped this up and you hyped this up. And then you have the double DQ brawl at the end. The referee loses control and throws out the match. Because we can't have anybody win, and we also can't have either guy lose, so everybody will lose instead. And nobody gets pushed further. Nothing gets accomplished. We're just in a stalemate. We are exactly where we were when the show started, when it ended, in the tag team division. The New Day are still the tag team champions, and now we are going to see them fight Cesaro and Shinsuke again. But the one cool thing, only one cool thing happened on this show, and it happened at the end, and Shinsuke and Cesaro were pissed at the decision of the referee and that the New Day were, that they were unable to defeat the New Day. So they set up a table in the ring, they laid out Big E, they put him on the table, and then Shinsuke Nakamura grabs Kofi Kingston suplexes him up into the arms of Cesaro, who power bombs Kofi Kingston into Big E, crashing through the table, and it was a very cool spot. But what does it mean? What does it mean? Well, for most of us, it means that probably they are going to book a tables match now for the Tag Team Championship at Extreme Horror Rules show that I don't give a shit about. And hopefully then maybe we'll see somebody actually win. But does that really count? Is that going to be their way of giving the championships to Cesaro and Shinsuke without having the New Day pinned in the ring? They're going to be put through a table, so there's their easy way out. Because again, just like all night long, we can't have anybody win and we can't have anybody lose. 50-50 bookings every single week. Making challengers look like chumps. Making champions look like chumps at times. This is the MO of the WWE. This SmackDown was absolutely pointless. The only other thing that was of note was the announcement that next week AJ Styles is going to defend the Intercontinental Championship against Matt Riddle. That was the only other thing. And that's a mistake in and of itself. You got SummerSlam 5 weeks out. That's the kind of match you want to have there. But what I'm afraid is going to happen is they're going to burn this match out next week on SmackDown. Constable King Dickhead, conspicuous by his absence this evening, is going to show up next week. It's going to cost Matt Riddle this matchup somehow. Maybe just cause a disqualification because, we can't have Matt Riddle lose yet. We shouldn't be anyway. And then they're going to extend it on and possibly have a triple threat at SummerSlam. King Dickhead, Matt Riddle, and AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. That's the only kind of logic I can apply to see why they would do this match now. You got Extreme Rules just a week out. You could have did that Intercontinental Championship match there. You would think that when you would coronate a guy like Matt Riddle and give him his first WWE Championship, you would want it at a big show like SummerSlam. Hopefully that's still going to be the case. And the only reason for the inclusion of Constable King Dickhead is going to be to take the loss so that AJ Styles doesn't look bad and lose. Because God forbid we make any new stars, right? We can't make any stars if nobody wins. We didn't see a finisher tonight. We didn't see any clean pinfalls tonight. Disqualifications and roll-ups throughout the whole entire night. Absolutely awful episode of SmackDown. Made even worse by the existence of this god-awful karaoke contest from hell, which I hope I never see again. I thought we were taking steps away from this. Instead, we're diving headfirst into it. And it doesn't look good. And we're going to get brain damage on the impact. I'll tell you that right now. That's it. That's all we got for this episode of SmackDown, which was another midnight train to Sucktown. And it was the worst friggin' show we have seen in quite some time. If you like today's broadcast, make sure you let me know by smashing that thumbs up and letting the world know that we are A-OK with you. Share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need to know what was wrong with tonight's episode of SmackDown, which was pretty much everything. But most importantly, make sure you hit subscribe so that you do not miss a thing whenever we drop an all-new wrestling hammer down on the WWE right here on Sledgehammer TV. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team. Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball, the most important member of the team as always. Each and every one of you Sledgeheads out there, I love you guys so much. Without you, there is no me. And if I'm not here, I don't know where I am. So I thank you guys so very, very much. If you missed anything else this week, the links are in the annotations up above. And keep your eyes peeled for some all new cool content right here on Sledgehammer TV. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here. And we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube www.wrestlingtalkradio.com.